They say aging is natural, but what if I told you that it's not age that's hurting your health? It's the 6 spots you're forgetting to clean? That's right. 6 tiny areas on your own body that, when ignored, can lead to infections, inflammation, and even serious illness. Most people never even think about them, and that silent mistake could be shaving years off your life. But here's the good news. Fixing this is simple, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what to do to protect your health, boost your longevity, and stay independent, no matter your age. Ready? Let's begin. It's funny how we clean our faces so carefully, even pat our skin dry with those fancy towels. But then we completely forget about that quiet little corner behind the ears. That spot, right between the hairline and the jaw, often goes unnoticed, yet it's one of the warmest, oiliest zones in the entire body. In old age, as the skin becomes thinner and more sensitive, this forgotten area can turn into a breeding ground for bacteria without us realizing it. It traps sweat, collects skin oils, and even absorbs residues from hair products. Day after day, that silent buildup weakens the skin barrier. And here's the tricky part. It doesn't always show symptoms right away. Sometimes, the first sign is just a mild itch, but it can lead to chronic irritation, infections, or even odor. Now think about this. When was the last time you actually washed behind your ears on purpose? Not just letting water splash there in the shower, but really cleaned it? For many elderly people, it's been weeks, sometimes months. And that's not due to carelessness. It's habit. The motions of daily hygiene get automated over the years, and we don't rethink them unless someone points it out. Behind-the-ear hygiene becomes even more important for those using hearing aids or glasses, where friction and moisture create a perfect trap. Senior health isn't only about what you eat or how you move. Sometimes, it's about the smallest details you don't see in the mirror. And let's be honest, nobody tells you these things. What can you actually do about it? Simple. Use a soft washcloth with warm water and a bit of neutral soap. Do it once a day, right after the shower when your skin is more relaxed. Don't scrub harshly, just clean gently, in circular motions. Some people even use micellar water if the skin is sensitive, especially in old age. And after cleaning, dry the area thoroughly with a clean towel. Moisture that stays trapped behind the ears can invite yeast and bacteria faster than you'd imagine. A good hygiene habit today might save you from needing antibiotic creams tomorrow. Remember, longevity is often hidden in the little things nobody talks about. There's also a little-known connection between behind-the-ear neglect and chronic ear infections in older adults. When bacteria build up there, they can creep into the ear canal, especially if there are hearing devices involved. That's why ENT specialists quietly recommend that senior health routines include detailed skin cleaning around the ears. Some even suggest using a cotton swab just behind the ear crease, never inside the canal, to gently clean excess buildup. It's these sorts of practical actions that promote longevity, not magical supplements or miracle creams. Real elderly care is meticulous care. Interestingly, the skin behind the ears shares characteristics with the scalp. It's thin, highly vascular, and loaded with sebaceous glands. That means it reacts strongly to changes in hygiene. If you've ever noticed a lingering odor or unexplained irritation in that area, it might not be your shampoo. It's likely accumulated gunk. Some caregivers, when assisting aging parents, report discovering dark waxy buildup behind the ears after just a week of forgetting to clean it. It's not about judgment, it's about awareness. And awareness is what transforms old age into a stage of mastery, not vulnerability. The more we learn to observe our bodies in detail, the more empowered we become in senior health. Behind-the-ear care is a perfect example of how small actions can lead to big results. The truth is, there are more areas just like this one, warm, dark, and forgotten. Areas where bacteria and fungi love to set up camp. And unfortunately, one of them is just a little lower on the body, often covered by pants and hidden away even more than the ears. Let me ask you something. When you take a shower, do you actually bend your leg and clean behind your knee? Most people don't. It's one of those sneaky spots that feels too small to worry about until it starts causing problems. The back of the knees is warm, it's often sweaty, and it's tucked away, a perfect combination for bacterial and fungal growth. And in old age, the skin in that region gets even more delicate, especially for the elderly who may sit or lie down for extended periods. That constant skin-on-skin contact creates a moist pocket that germs adore. They thrive there, and when they do, it doesn't just stay hidden. It can lead to inflammation, rashes, and even stubborn infections. In warmer weather or after a light walk, moisture tends to collect there quickly. That makes it the ideal environment for fungal conditions like intertrigo or candidiasis to take root. Think of it like a hidden swamp. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's clean. Many senior health complications actually start in areas like these, where hygiene is overlooked. For someone aiming at longevity, ignoring these hidden zones is like patching the roof but leaving the basement flooded. It may not show immediately, but the damage builds up silently. And if there's already an underlying condition like diabetes, poor circulation, or obesity, the risk of infections multiplies. Now, what's the practical solution here? Every time you bathe, take 5 extra seconds to gently wash behind the knees. Lift the leg, get into the fold, and rinse well. Afterward, dry the area completely. That's key. If you're using lotion, avoid overly oily ones in that zone, as they can trap heat and sweat. For some elderly folks with limited mobility, using a flexible handled sponge or asking for assistance might be necessary, and that's okay. Taking care of this part of the body may sound simple, but it reflects something deeper: attention to detail, respect for your body, and proactive senior health. There's also something to be said about clothing. Tight pants or synthetic fabrics that don't breathe can trap heat and aggravate the area behind the knees. That's why many in old age benefit from breathable cotton or moisture-wicking fabric, especially if they're physically active. Even something as small as switching to looser sleepwear can help prevent sweat buildup during the night. And don't underestimate the value of air drying. After a shower, sitting comfortably with your legs slightly apart and letting that area breathe for a minute or two can go a long way. Small daily habits, big long-term gains. You might be surprised to know that some people have developed painful skin fissures behind the knees without realizing it. They mistook the pain for arthritis or stiffness, but it was a skin infection that had gone unnoticed. That's the danger of neglecting what you don't see. In old age, our immune response isn't as sharp as it once was, and small infections can escalate faster than expected. Prevention, here, is everything. And to prevent, you need awareness. That's the core of senior health and true longevity. See, nobody teaches us this stuff in school or at the doctor's office. But these small things are the foundation of strong aging. And behind the knees isn't the only warm, tight space we often forget. There's another zone, down at the bottom of the body, always wrapped in socks and shoes, squeezed together for hours on end. A zone that smells the moment it's neglected, yet many don't even give it a second thought. If there's one area that screams for attention, but never actually gets it, it's right between your toes. Those tight little crevices, often ignored during the shower and completely forgotten afterward, are prime real estate for bacteria, yeast, and fungi. Especially in old age, when circulation slows and the skin gets thinner, these warm, dark, and moist areas become the perfect hiding place for silent threats. Some elderly individuals go years without properly cleaning between their toes, not because they don't care, but because they don't know the risk. The result? Cracked skin, nasty odors, fungal infections, and in serious cases, even cellulitis or ulcers. Yes, all from between the toes. A common culprit? Athlete's foot. It's not just for athletes. It's for anyone who lets moisture sit between those tight skin folds for too long. In senior health, this becomes a real danger. What starts as a small itch can spread fast, especially if the immune system is already compromised. Add diabetes or neuropathy into the mix, and the situation can become downright dangerous. Some people in old age think the smell is just normal aging. It's not. That unpleasant odor is your body's way of waving a red flag. It's begging you to pay attention, to act now, not later. So how do you handle it? First, don't rush your showers. Take time to spread each toe and wash gently with soap and warm water. Rinse thoroughly. The magic, though, is in the drying. Use a soft towel or even a cotton swab to get between each toe. This alone can reduce moisture drastically. And if you tend to sweat, sprinkle a bit of foot powder or cornstarch between the toes afterward. These steps sound basic, but for the elderly, they're part of the foundation of true longevity. They're the everyday moves that stop big problems before they start. Choosing the right socks and shoes makes a massive difference too. Cotton socks are breathable, but moisture-wicking ones, like those used by hikers, work wonders in preventing sweat accumulation. And shoes? Avoid synthetic materials that trap heat. Go for leather or mesh when possible, especially in warmer climates. People in old age often wear the same pair of shoes every day without letting them air out. This keeps moisture and bacteria trapped. Try rotating shoes, using foot deodorizing sprays, or even placing cedar shoe inserts to absorb excess humidity. A few small tweaks, and your feet will thank you. There's also something no one talks about. Senior health is deeply connected to foot care. The feet are your foundation. Neglect them, and your balance, posture, and mobility can suffer. Some elderly people lose confidence in walking simply because their feet feel uncomfortable, tight skin, burning, itching. And it all starts between the toes. Something as simple as applying a bit of antifungal cream once a week can prevent months of discomfort. Don't wait for a blister or rash to appear. In old age, prevention is always better than reaction. And here's the thing, between the toes might be risky, but it's not the only hidden spot most people forget. There's another area, a tiny pocket in the middle of your belly that most people haven't even looked at closely in years. But inside that space, danger might be quietly building. Now here's a question you probably haven't been asked in years. When was the last time you cleaned your belly button? Really cleaned it? Most people assume that the soap and water trickling down in the shower takes care of it. But the truth is, the navel is a tiny, deep crevice, like a little cave, where sweat, dead skin, lint, and bacteria love to gather. And especially in old age, when skin regeneration slows down and hygiene habits become more automatic, the belly button becomes a hidden risk zone. For many elderly individuals, this small area gets ignored for weeks, even months, without intentional care. And when it's neglected, it can become red, itchy, inflamed, or worse, infected. People are often shocked to learn how many microorganisms actually live inside the navel. One study found that over 1,400 different bacterial strains can exist in there. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Some bacteria are harmless, but when the area isn't cleaned, those harmless ones can turn hostile. For senior health, where immunity may already be more vulnerable, this is no small issue. A dirty belly button can develop yeast infections, cysts, and even foul-smelling discharge. Not exactly the kind of surprise anyone wants. And yet, it happens silently. No alarms, no pain, until it's already become a problem. So how do you take care of it? Start by checking your belly button once a week, just like checking your nails or ears. If it's in any, use a damp cotton swab with warm water or gentle soap to clean inside. Then dry it completely with a clean towel. You can also use witch hazel or micellar water if you're prone to irritation. Avoid applying lotion inside it. It's better dry than moist. In old age, skin folds like this need special attention. It takes less than 2 minutes, but the impact on your longevity can be surprising. Hygiene isn't just about looking clean, it's about staying safe from the inside out. Here's a practical example. I once spoke to a retired teacher, 78 years old, who started having abdominal discomfort. After several tests and no clear diagnosis, the culprit was discovered: an infected belly button from years of neglect. Something so small had turned into a chronic issue. Once she began regular hygiene and used an antiseptic spray weekly, her skin improved and the discomfort vanished. This story isn't rare. In old age, our bodies speak in whispers. And if we don't listen, those whispers become screams. Your navel might look innocent, but don't underestimate it. Even the clothes we wear affect the belly button. Tight waistbands, synthetic fabrics, and sweat buildup can turn that area into a miniature pressure cooker. And with age, abdominal skin becomes looser, creating even more folds for bacteria to hide. That's why senior health involves awareness, not just of the visible, but of the tucked away corners too. As our bodies age, they ask for a new kind of care, more deliberate, more curious, more loving. And that loving attention must move upward next, because just above the navel lies a vast terrain often skipped over due to one simple assumption. It's easy to think that if there's little or no hair on your head, there's no need to worry about the scalp. But let me tell you something that most people never realize. The scalp is skin. And just like the rest of your body, it sweats, sheds cells, collects oil, and reacts to neglect. In old age, the skin on the scalp becomes thinner and more fragile, which makes it even more vulnerable to dryness, irritation, and even infection. For many elderly people, the scalp turns into a forgotten territory, out of sight, out of mind. But just because it's up top doesn't mean it's safe. Left uncared for, it can host dandruff, inflammation, or fungal infections. And here's the part nobody talks about. Your scalp health may affect your brain health indirectly. Think about it. Chronic inflammation in any part of the body, even the skin, leads to stress responses. And in senior health, chronic stress, even at a low level, can disrupt sleep, mood, and even memory. That dry, itchy feeling up there? It's not just annoying. It could be the beginning of a chain reaction. In old age, we must learn to see the body as one connected system. The scalp isn't just the top of your head. It's a gateway to your nervous system and your sense of vitality. So what can you do? Start by washing your scalp, not just your hair. Use your fingertips, not your nails, to massage it with a gentle, fragrance-free shampoo 2 to 3 times a week. If you're bald or have thinning hair, that's even more reason to protect the skin directly. After washing, pat dry and apply a lightweight moisturizer or natural oil like jojoba or sweet almond. And once a week, use a soft brush or exfoliating glove to gently remove dead skin cells. These simple habits support longevity, not just by keeping you clean, but by improving circulation and reducing inflammation. I once met an 82-year-old man named Joseph who had gone nearly a decade without thinking twice about his scalp. After years of dryness and flaking, he started experiencing small lesions that became infected. It wasn't until his dermatologist suggested a new scalp hygiene routine that he found relief. Within weeks, his energy improved, his sleep got better, and even his self-esteem changed. That's what good senior health does. It's not just about the physical, but about how you feel walking through the world. Even small routines can make you feel younger, sharper, more alive. The scalp also interacts with your environment in powerful ways. If you wear hats often, make sure they're clean and breathable. If you spend time in the sun, use a hat with UV protection or a scalp-friendly sunscreen. And don't underestimate the emotional benefit of a daily scalp massage. It relieves tension, calms the nervous system, and stimulates blood flow. These rituals, though simple, connect you back to yourself. In old age, self-care becomes a form of wisdom. It's not about vanity, it's about respect. Respect for your vessel, your journey, and your future. Now, we've talked about parts of the body that are usually hidden, neglected, or taken for granted. But there's still one more area, perhaps the most interactive part of your daily life: that most people completely forget to clean thoroughly. A part that touches others, carries germs, and spreads them without even trying. Our hands are always in motion, touching, holding, opening, scratching, cooking, typing. They're the most active part of our bodies, and ironically, the most underestimated when it comes to hygiene, especially between the fingers. That tiny webbed area, often moist and warm, becomes a breeding ground for bacteria and fungi, especially in old age, when the skin gets thinner and loses elasticity. People wash their hands all the time, yes, but how often do they separate their fingers and clean the skin in between? For many elderly individuals, that detail goes unnoticed. And yet, infections, peeling, and even painful cracks often start right there. Moisture is the biggest enemy. After washing hands, or worse, after sweating. If those tight spaces aren't dried well, you've just created the perfect greenhouse for microbial life. This is especially dangerous in senior health because wounds heal slower and immunity can be compromised. What looks like a bit of flaking could actually be the early signs of a fungal infection. And the worst part? That same hand will go on to touch the face, the eyes, the mouth, the phone, and loved ones. What starts between the fingers doesn't stay there, it spreads. In old age, hygiene needs to evolve into mindfulness. Want a practical habit? After every hand wash, make it a ritual. Gently open your fingers and dry in between using a clean towel or paper towel. For those with arthritis or limited dexterity, using a hairdryer on low setting to air dry between the fingers can help. And when moisturizing your hands, which you should absolutely do in old age, avoid leaving excess cream in the crevices. It can trap heat and moisture. These small acts may seem trivial, but for elderly skin, they're powerful. They protect against cracks that could become entry points for harmful pathogens. There's also a hidden link here to emotional and mental well-being. Think about it. The hands are extensions of expression. When they're irritated, itchy, or inflamed, it affects how freely you engage with the world. You hesitate to shake hands, hold a grandchild's palm, or prepare food. That invisible barrier chips away at confidence. One retired nurse I spoke to, aged 81, told me she avoided knitting for years because the skin between her fingers cracked so often. Once she began properly cleaning and caring for those spaces, not only did her hands heal, she rediscovered a lost passion. That's longevity in action. This region is also vulnerable to cross-contamination. Many elderly people touch assistive devices, walking canes, doorknobs, or shared surfaces without thinking. If the fingers aren't clean, especially between them, germs spread with lightning speed. And it's not just about bacteria. Viruses, fungi, even allergens can take residence in those tight folds. That's why hand hygiene needs to be redefined. It's not about soap and water alone. It's about thoroughness. And in senior health, thoroughness is often the shield between independence and medical complication. Now that we've journeyed through these 6 forgotten regions of the body, a question begins to rise. What else are we ignoring? What other silent habits are slowly wearing down our bodies, our dignity, our future, without us even realizing it? Now that you know the 6 body parts that almost everyone forgets to wash, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to let tiny pockets of bacteria quietly steal your energy, your independence, your longevity? Or will you take 5 extra minutes a day to protect the only body you've got? Because in old age, it's not just about living longer, it's about living better. With clarity, with confidence, with your dignity intact. Small changes, like cleaning these overlooked areas, can make the difference between feeling tired and inflamed or feeling sharp, fresh, and free. So ask yourself, which of these areas have you been neglecting? Which one surprised you the most? Leave your answer in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And who knows, what you share might help someone else in their journey toward healthy aging too. If this video opened your eyes, don't let this be the last time we talk. Hit that subscribe button, and turn on the notifications so you never miss a tip that could change your life. We're building a community here, a place where senior health is respected, where elderly wisdom is honored, and where longevity is a daily practice. You've taken the first step today. Now, let's keep walking this path together.